And welcome everybody to Through the Darkness here on ParaX Paranormal Network. I am Christine Corda, and today is Wednesday, and I'm not going to say the date because I'm not sure when this is going to be uploaded. We are also on Spreaker.com on Through the Darkness. We can be heard on iHeartRadio. You can find our archives on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and all over the place. We are a chain, and I'm very happy to welcome my guest today. I get a lot of dreams. I get what I feel are visions, and I've read through this lady's visions and conversations with Archangel Michael and the archangels, and they are amazing. I'm going to give you her website. It's shantagabriel.com, SHANTA, Gabriel, Gabriel. That's one word, shantagabriel.com, where she talks about how she got in touch with the angels, or rather how they got in touch with her. And it's really very, very interesting, and it's a work that she's doing. Now everybody and their brother hear the angels and see the angels, but she's one of the, this is going back for years. So I want you to go over there and peruse through the website, because it's very good and it's very powerful messages. And I want to welcome Shanta. Is Shanta or Shanta to the show?
Well, I say Shanta. My guru said Shanta.
That's nice. I like the name, yeah. Shanta Gabriel. I bet you there's another message in that name. I just feel like there's a message in your name.
Well, that's true, actually. It's another story. But thank you, Christine. I'm really happy to be here. And
we did it. We got connected within 18 minutes. It was only 18 minutes this time.
Not too bad, for new technology. Not too bad. But it's just a pleasure to be able to have this conversation and share these. I mean, this is 40 years in the making.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I was reading.
Yeah, it's amazing, actually.
What I like about you, and this is sort of, I have my own way of understanding people, and it's not that I disagree with people or don't believe them. There's just some people I take with a grain of salt. And I don't feel like you're hanging out your shingle. I really feel like you you questioned this work.
Everything.
Yeah, a lot. And yeah. That to me is a sign of somebody who's probably legit. You had a lot of questions. You talk about those questions. Can you go and tell us, I read it,
yes.
But can you tell my listeners how this started and then how you reached to now? And we can just go back and forth about different things. I have no problem talking, and I'm sure you don't either when it comes to this. So.
No, it's fine. Yes, it's kind of it's a startling story, and it still gives me butterflies just to think about it right now. So how it began was, this is in 1988.
Okay.
I was married. I was living in Hawaii. I was a massage therapist, and I had been for about 12 years. I really felt like it was time for me to do something more. It was like I wasn't exactly feeling completed or satisfied or fulfilled. And I was having a little trouble with my marriage too, so it was not a great moment. And I just started praying and asking and saying, there's got to be more to life than this. And I really feel like this is, I'm ready for my path to open up. I want my soul's journey to be present, and that kind of stuff. I get very insistent. I feel like the divine presence knows me, and I can stamp my feet and feel a little okay about it, but it is kind of childish, but that's okay. So
I relate.
So here I was praying for this, and it had gone on for some time. And one day I was giving a massage, and at that time I had a space in my living room that looked out in this beautiful view. You could see you could see the ocean in the distance, and I was up on a hill. And I was at the very end of the massage where I usually send light down the body, even to this day. I send gold light down the body. And I was doing that. I was on my knees at her head. Woman was on the table. And
wow.
I felt like the room started vibrating. And I'm from California, so you think earthquake.
Yep.
But actually, I was in Hawaii, and I thought, wait a minute, and this gold light was just permeating my consciousness. My whole head was just filled with light, and it was getting so bright that I opened my eyes. At the end of my table, there was this massive beam of light, totally gold light, and there were wings that went out the ceiling. That was amazing,
Yeah.
And if I hadn't been on my knees, I probably would have gotten there really quickly because it was such a powerful energy. It was huge, and I was a little fearful too, truthfully. So in my mind, I said, and I'm conscious that there's a person on my table here, and I just have to be really kind of calm. And so in my mind, I'm saying, "Who are you?" And I hear this voice, kind of like that booming voice that said, "I am Archangel Michael." And,
wow.
And I just went into total disbelief. It's like, what? It was just not something that I had ever experienced. I had no interest in angels. I think I believed in them, but it wasn't part of my reality. And so I just went, right, I'm busy. Go away. And that's what I did. So he disappeared. I finished the massage, and she said, "Oh, there was just so much light." And I'm like, yeah, there was. And then he kept coming back, not quite so radically, but there would be a lot of light in my room, and I would be working on somebody, and there was some really amazing healings that happened too during the time. And so that went on for about a year, a little longer maybe. And then it was 1990. I was meditating in my living room, and the same thing happened. This huge being of light with wings that went out the ceiling, and I had a cathedral ceiling at the time, so that was big. It was huge, this massive being of light. And this time I could see the eyes, and they were so incredibly loving, they just melted my heart. And he said he was Archangel Gabriel, that he was here for me to learn how to communicate. And so every day for years, like several years, I sat and I did this. He taught me this alignment exercise that went through the whole chakras and kind of balanced everything out, grounded, and then I would either ask a question or I would just open up after I meditated and let the words come to me. The words would come. They would come. They'd start out always, "Dear one," and then there would be this message. It would just, and I was blown away. When I would go back and read the messages, I was completely shocked because they were so wise. Sometimes they were humorous. They were so not me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yes.
So it was just this really precious time, and it hasn't really stopped. There's just, in fact, it's turned out that Archangel Gabriel opened the way for me to communicate with other archangels and open up to a whole new study program about the different archangels that are carrying the attributes of our chakra system. And this amazing teachings that come from these beings of light that are here actually to assist us, because we're in such a powerful, often confusing time. We live that.
Yeah.
We live that now. And so they really want to be of support.
Yeah, there is a lot of people that I talk to are saying the same thing, that they're getting messages, they're getting visitations.
Yeah.
Something is happening, and it's going on for years, but this is just some time that we're in. There's a lot of desperation, I think, on the other side. Can I ask a pointed question? Because for a lot of the people who listen to me, they have a lot of trouble with darker forces, and a lot of blocks are up. Happens in my life. Of course, my history is a little bit different than most people. What do they ever say anything specifically about that, or is it just like a test?
The Archangel Gabriel says that if we bring light through our body, through the chakra system specifically, every day, it is transformational, and we become both magnetic and radiant.
That makes so much sense.
And it actually, light, because divine light carries both infinite intelligence and divine love. Those codes are in the light. And since 1987, during the Harmonic Convergence, and it went on, and since 2012, there has been more light pervading the planet than ever in history. And what it's doing is bringing up all the parts of us, all those dark places that are not in harmony with this power of love. And so the more we bring light in, the clearer we become. It's like the waters have been muddy, and it just becomes lighter and clearer every moment. And so it's a process, but it makes such a difference when we can bring the light all the way through us, that it also causes a I just lost my track. When we bring light all the way through us, it actually changes our cellular structure. It just brings so much light in. It vibrates on a higher frequency. And the higher the frequency, the more love we feel, the more confident we are, the more we can envision beautiful things. I mean, it's very, very different now. And that's so. Did that answer your question? I can go on and on.
Oh, please. It's like music to my ears. I have so many questions myself, and it's beautiful. The words are just they make so much sense to me.
Oh, good. Yes. It makes sense. That's the thing.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. And so here's the problem, or the issue really is that most people aren't aware that we've moved into a fourth dimension, where the third dimension it's not the form that we see in the physical world. That's form. That's physical form. That's nothing. It's different. The dimension of the third, well, I don't even want to go there, but let's just say it's very constricted. It has a lot of polarities, black, white, yes, no, up, down. It's all of the polarities, and it's the last gasp of the patriarchy and all the difficult.
Thank you.
Yes, so all the systems that we're familiar with that aren't working anymore are coming into balance. And so what that looks like is a lot of chaos and upheaval. At the same time, you have to choose where you look. Because,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Because our focus of attention is now where all the energy flows. That it's like where your attention goes, the energy flows. And so in the fourth dimensional frequency, the law of attraction is a big deal. It really works. And so the universe, which is a very loving, benevolent universe, willing to support whatever we want, when we focus on something, and we put a lot of emotion behind it, especially fear, the universe will just go, oh, is that what you want more of? Here, and just gives us more of it. And it's just, it's a never-ending dark spiral. When you start to go into all the dark places, that the past history, your lifetimes, and all the stuff, you can just go on forever digging into that stuff. I know, because I did, and it doesn't end. But what we have now is the opportunity to literally lighten up. And when we do, it allows all of those kind of dark, sticky energetics to also lighten up. And they become like what I see when I do body work and stuff. It's like tendrils of spider webs. It's like little light spiderwebby, kind of sticky, but when the light comes in, it just dissipates, and we don't have to follow it to see where it goes. We just send it back to the light for healing.
I understand. I think that's one of the best ways to do it, because there's no fight in it. It's just we're not in control. Just go to who's in control.
Yeah, exactly. Let it be taken up by the higher frequencies of light and the power of love. And so that's not our job. It's just our job is to give our direction and focus our intention. And our intentions are really powerful now. So it's like when we have an intention for what we would like, but most benevolent outcome of something, a creative solution when nothing looks like there's any hope, those are powerful directives that go, it's like an arrow, and we pull back the bow with our intention and send it out into the universe, into the future, into the, this vast, it's physics, truly. It's a field of unlimited potential, and that is so unknown to us, and that scares people too.
Yeah.
But in reality, I'm not sure that we really actually did know. We just thought we knew where we were going. We had a plan, But, things changed. But now they're changing so swiftly with a thought, with our feelings. It's not instantaneous, but we're becoming so guided by synchronicities. Just when, things that the synchronicities will come. Have you noticed that?
Yes. When I'm not. Yeah, the fear has always been one of my biggest issues because of my background. Mm-hmm. But I do notice the stronger that I meditate, the more that things just fall into place.
Yeah.
Yes, very much.
And our intentions really make a difference. So I'm always intending for the highest good and the highest soul reality. I say that a lot. For my highest soul's reality, I ask the situation to be open for the highest light to come through. So things like that. And I just keep turning it over, imagining that the higher power knows what to do. You can keep the stars in the heavens. You can take care of my little life, So that's pretty much what I do.
That's what I always forget. And then I'll sit down, I'll start to pray, and I'll get embarrassed. I'll be like, here I am, sitting here with my little self telling God how to work, how to do his job. Telling the universe how to connect and do this and that, and I get embarrassed. We all have that kind of thing.
But they want that of us right now. It's a free will universe, and so we can ask for anything we want, as wild as it may seem.
That's a nice thing. The people that a lot of my listeners have been through abuse, and that's why I do the show, because a lot of the abuse that happened to me happens to a lot of people. And I think that one thing that I learned is that a lot of negative entities and just negative energy in general tends to overtake our lives, and it's not about as much exorcism or deliverance as it is about relearning and undoing those old thoughts. That of course God loves you.
Them. You just send light there and lift them
Yeah.
up. Just keep lifting them up and
Yeah.
and not focus on it. Because I certainly had. I'm 73, so I had lots of opportunity for abuse and
Right.
rape and terrible. A lot of really dark life.
Yes.
And so this, I know how this was going to sound, but I'll just say it anyway, because I believe that our soul had a contract. It has lessons to learn. And before we come to earth, we actually choose to create those lessons.
I agree with that.
You know who Ram Dass is?
Yes.
Yeah, he's such a brilliant being, and I remember him telling this story. I think this is in the 70s sometime, and he talked about this horrible life that this African girl had, and these terrible things happened to her and her family, and he went on, and then she was killed. And she got to the other side, and all the angels are there, and they're going, "Congratulations, you did it! You cleared so much karma, and
wow.
now you're healed, you're free, and you can go on and do So it was like that level of consciousness that we wanted to be here in this life at this particular time, because we have such an opportunity to clear past history, karma, and more importantly, bring the mass consciousness of the world into full-on awakening, which leads to more peace, more harmony, more love in the world. And that's what we aim to do.
That's what God wants.
Yes.
That's the hardest hurdle to go through.
Yeah.
And this was the one who wrote The Vision of God?
Ram Dass? He wrote the Be Here Now book. He wrote How Can I Help? He wrote Still Here. He's written a lot of things about aging because he had a stroke, and he's still lecturing. He's been a really powerful for my generation, the sort of the hippies of the 60s and early 70s. He was our sort of guide into another realm, and he seems to have brought the Hindu teachings, the teachings of the East, to the West. And one of the things that made the most difference for me, I read his book, the Be Here Now book, when I was like 24 or 5, and the thing that most affected me was he talked about the laws of reincarnation and karma. And it made so much sense. It was like all of a sudden I went, oh, that's what, because life in the reality of normal religious, that made no sense to me. And so I really needed to have an alternative. And the more Eastern thought, the way that they look at the world makes much more sense to me.
Yeah,
and
it does
it's not
to
like
me as well.
They're religions that I want to take on, Buddhism or Hinduism, although I have studied very deeply and intensely of those cultures, but the very simplicity of that level of belief really works for me, and it's been and it's been confirmed by the work that I've been doing in the last 30 years, so 23 years.
It's a simple kind of and then you have to take, I liked it because it helped me to take responsibility before, and I'm a mess, don't even get me wrong, I'm 30 cards short of a full deck all the time, but, it helps me to understand that it wasn't just what happened to me, it's what I became as a result, and how to keep understanding that I'm the one who has to be the vehicle for change in my life. And those books are great for that. But I wanted to say this, on your website you have the Bridging Heaven and Earth exercise, which was given to you in 1990 from Archangel Gabriel, and I'm encouraging everyone to go in there and look at that, because that's a very nice...
Oh, I can lead you through it if you want.
It's a very nice. You can lead my listeners through it. I would welcome that. Really is nice.
Okay.
It really is.
Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, let's do it now, and then we can continue to talk to what comes to us.
Okay. It's a really good prayerful alignment that I say every day because it makes such a difference. When we open up to the light and source energy, and we bring it all the way through us, and then we're grounding it on the earth, we become that bridge from heaven to earth. Mm-hmm. And this light that we're bringing through has this consciousness of infinite intelligence and love. So each of the chakras has a quality of consciousness that we want to embody, and they're all good. So let's just go through that with knowing that the words we're saying have this living energy that supports us. So here we go. Deep breath, and then exhale. And just breathe normally. I call on the light from the highest source there is. I invite this light to my highest self. I ask that my soul be inspired with light to live in its highest reality. I bring that light into my crown to bring wisdom into my mind. I let this light illuminate my mind and consciousness, bringing inspiration and insight. The 3 eyes in the third eye. As this light flows into my throat chakra, it brings compassion. Bring compassion to yourself and all others. And allow me to express my creativity in beautiful ways, in harmony with my soul's gifts. I ask this light to flow into my heart, strengthening my heart with love and healing energy, and allowing that energy to spread out from my body into the torus field that circulates in the magnetic field around my heart and is a regenerating field of love and healing power. I bring the light now into my solar plexus, strengthening the light there, bringing more guidance, more protection, more sense of courage. Breathing that in, allow the light to flow now into my second chakra, the place of creativity, union, and beautiful creative solutions in every situation. And now we let the light flow into the base chakra, right at the base of the spine, filling it with well-being. Breathe in well-being and let that be your reality. And now allow the light to drop like a stone down to the area below your feet that we call the Earth Star. Let it ground into this place that is the heart of the Mother of the Earth. Breathe in the nutrients, the nourishment that is your root system into the earth and the gift of nature. And now if you stood back and you looked at your body, you would be a living rainbow. That's your light body field, your new vehicle for life in the higher dimensions. Let yourself know very deeply as you integrate this beautiful alignment that you are blessed, you are loved and cared for. And know that it is so, and so it is. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Amen. That really is beautiful. And I think a lot of us forget that because there's so much chaos around that we have to just keep our eyes on that and those beings of light.
Yeah, we have to turn away from the chaos.
Yeah.
It's what we're focused on, and so it's kind of, we've gotten so in some ways addicted to information, and a lot of times that information is not helpful for keeping ourselves in alignment with light and truth and love, and so it's kind of like taking a fast from news and conspiracy websites and a lot of stuff, and also our own history, turning away from what happened to us and turning into what it was we can do now. It's a new time.
That's a good point.
And here's another thing about this: the dimensions are not like pancakes laid on top of each other, but they are they're a frequency of energy that allows us to work differently than we've ever worked before. So as we move into these higher frequencies and into these new dimensional opportunities, we can't take that old heavy stuff with us. It's just like it's not appropriate. It doesn't have any. It's not helpful. It is what it is, and it did what it did, and it was what it was, and now we bless it because it brought us to where we are now, and now we have new choices to make. And we are better people for all that happened to us. As painful as it was, we lived through it, and we have courage, and we have power, because we were able to live through things that nobody should ever have to experience.
Yeah.
And so we, from now on, we can either help people that are having those issues, or we can teach, we can do all kinds of things, because we are now the way showers and the leaders and the healers for this new time.
It's a very good point.
We have a job.
Do they show you the dimensions? Because I see things all the time. The first inclination, I used to get messages all the time. I'm very careful about who I share with them because they come true. Yeah. So I'm assuming that if they come true, then it would be godly. I don't want to presume that it is, but they've been consistently. And one, I thought it was an angel, came in and said, listen to the sounds. It was a terrible time in my life. And I realized that they were talking about frequency, that my frequencies were all messed up. Do you ever see the interdimensions? Do they talk to you about that, or?
Yes, and it's it doesn't come when I call for it. Well, yeah, in some ways it does. But so two things came up for me when you said that. One is that Archangel Gabriel made a really strong point about how to receive messages. And what he said was we need to make a concentrated connection to our highest self. This is an aspect of our energy field. It's the most divine aspect of ourselves. It's connected to our soul. It is literally our soul's voice. This part of ourselves, this essence, it's our sacred essence. This part of us knows what our journey is here for. It knows what we're here to experience and who or what frequencies we need in order to learn those lessons and move into greater life. So he said to always connect with your higher self first, and then invite the angel, the master teacher, the whoever being of light is the one that's to teach you. And so you don't have to. I don't presume, like if somebody said it would be really good to talk to that ascended master because it's the time for this and that, which is, we hear that all the time. And so at first I did, and what happened was a lot of confusion and a lot of emotionality and drama, and that wasn't what I was really going for. So when I discovered that with a little bit of practice, I could really get a sense of my soul's voice and what this energy was here to do, and so that when I received my intuition, I could trust it, because I knew that it went right through the dragon at the gate, and that I was able to trust that who was ever bringing messages to me or was showing me visions, that I could trust that.
Well, I like what you wrote on your website when in 1999 when you went into bankruptcy, you lost your home, you had appendicitis, the car accident. It sounds like the last 5 years for me. But interestingly enough, you began again at age 56. You spent most of 7 years without a home base, and it's like they do that to us. They take everything away, and then we have to start new, because you just exactly what you just talked about. So I want people who are listening to know that you're not just talking about it, you actually lived through it, and it was really terribly painful. It's not like you're just singing but you actually went through the mining of the gold, as it were,
Well, I was so excited to have these amazing messages come through the angelic dimensions, and I was being encouraged to share them, although I didn't even tell my husband for 2 years. And so finally I shared them with one of my friends. I didn't share that. I just said, I just got this message. Would you just listen to it and let me know if I'm insane? And he said,
that's exactly what I say.
Yeah, exactly.
How many pills do I need after this message?
I know. I mean, I had taken those psychological tests that say, do you hear voices? I mean, you got to be careful when you say yes. So
depending on what kind.
So that was interesting. So he just said, this is really powerful. My heart, he said that it touched his heart, that it really had value, and that I needed to share it. So I started with my husband and then kind of moved on from there. And I ended up making this wonderful little card set of what I was told was called Angel Messages. And then I wrote a book
from
the
Those
messages.
Are nice, yes.
Yeah, and then that began this process of creation, because there was no end to the creative ideas, but there was an end to the money that was coming in to make them happen, And I was taking a lot of business classes and trying really hard to do what I was supposed to do to make a good little business, and it was, and I never asked to bring in a profit. That would have been pretty helpful, but I didn't even think, because this was a business that was dedicated to peace on earth, one person at a time. How could it not, thrive, right? But the true business aspect of it all was that I was spending more money than was coming in, and it eventually was headed for, and I tried really, really hard to keep it out of bankruptcy. For some reason, I just wanted it to and this is going to sound kind of harsh, but I realized it was what I really needed to hear. And it was the end of 1998, and I had gone into menopause, or started to go into menopause. I had a car accident. I was getting, it was a horrible time. And I said, what do I need to help this business to stay afloat and keep going and serving and bring peace to earth? And what the message was that I got from Archangel Gabriel was, when did you think you would need faith?
When were you planning on it?
Oh man, I that was so not helpful. I mean, I immediately, I was so in the creative mode that I thought that's a great bumper sticker. I had somebody draw me a little angel that had her arms crossed and tapping her foot, and she had an eyebrow raised, and it's like.
That's cute.
When did you think you'd need faith, or when did you think you'd need faith? There's all these ways of saying it, but what he meant was, well, he also said it's easy to have faith when things are going well, but the actual time you need faith is when it doesn't look so good,
Yeah.
So he said, just trust the process, and so I just watched as my life collapsed. My appendix burst. We lost our house in the bankruptcy, and within a really short amount of time, my husband found a new wife, and she was pregnant before the divorce was final. I mean, it was just like, oh my God, really. And I just found myself at I had no reference point for where I was. I'd been a wife for 20 years. Who am I now? And I thought I had work that I was doing. It felt like I had been actually doing the work I came on earth to do, and then this happened. It was, it was testing my faith for sure. I ended up at a spiritual retreat center in Michigan. So I went from Hawaii to Michigan in the late fall. It was totally beautiful, and then very shortly after that there was 10 feet of snow. It was kind of a whole new reality for me.
See, I think it's wonderful that you talk as openly as you do, because there's a lot of people who will just expound on the positive and don't want to say the negative. I'm a little bit more on the negative side, and I get a little dramatic, but you're able to balance that out and say, yes, these things happened, but instead of making you despair, it propelled you forward and
I
your
despaired
soul.
for a while, actually.
Yeah, I know. I read that.
I mean, there was some time there after it happened that I was really lost and really feeling betrayed, because I had put all my faith into the angels, and are they not? Did you guys just betray me? I mean, that was hard, and so then. What the thing that turned that around was kind of interesting too. So there's this, on that retreat center, I had a walk that I particularly liked, and it went down by a river, and I would take these walks, and I would cry, and I would rage, and I would find sticks and beat on things, and it really, I was doing that, and so this one day, I had finished raging and crying, and I was heading back to the center, and there was snow everywhere, and it had been cloudy, and it was depressing, and I just was straggling along, and I heard this kind of sound. It sounded like somebody's going, psst, psst, trying to get my attention, and I had, I won't tell you that part, but then, so it seemed like it was coming from this tree. And the state tree of Michigan is a white pine. And so this white pine tree seemed to be calling me. So I walk over to the tree, and I kind of lean against it, and it said, "Why pine for the past when the future is so bright and glorious?"
That's adorable.
And I looked up, and the sun had come out. It was shining on the snow like diamonds, and the sky was this deep blue. It was spectacular, and my whole being just shifted at that time. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the end of my questioning, of course, but it did give me an indication that life wasn't over, that that the future actually was bright and glorious, and I had that vision that was really true. That's what it looked like right then and there, and I could walk through that and open up to new possibilities.
That's an amazing way. It's an amazing gift to look at it in the midst of that kind of darkness and struggle. But you have a message from Gabriel on your website, shantagabriel.com. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how to. If you look up, it's Gabriel message number 6. I've read it about 800 times. Yeah,
I love that one.
I've read it about 100 times. Every time I read it, 800 times, not even 100, I see something else. I get embarrassed. I do, because everything that you're saying, we should all know, but when you go through it, you're like, because there's just that kind of humanness of wow.
We do know it.
Yeah.
Yes, but we're human, So it's yes. Oh, can I tell people about that?
Oh, please do. I would love for you to.
I love this was. Oh, it almost makes me cry because
it's beautiful.
Because this was a message that I received, and it said. This is the way it started was, picture yourself on the top of a mountain, and you're so high that there are eagles flying below you.
Oh.
And you look out, and they're angels with wings of pure light holding their hands out to you. And their eyes are so filled with love and compassion. They adore you, and they want you to come and fly with the angels. So you know that as you reach your hand to them, you still have to take the first step. And when you do, you can fly with the angels. And they want you to know that now is the time for those who believe to reach their hand forward, to be led by the angels of light.
Yeah.
And that's not literal, of course. We're not talking about leaping off mountaintops. We're talking about dropping the old patterns of disbelief and the ways that we devalue ourselves and say we're not worthy. We don't have enough, whatever it is, to be able to do something as exalted as that. That is so not the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the when he talks about being held back by fear and see the darkness there, and asking if we're willing to have it be different, and that's just it makes me just go still. I just sort of not freeze, but kind of like that light bulb goes on over the head, and it's like, gee, I'm only 55. When am I going to get it?
Well, that's the exact time that I got it. I mean, that's the exact time when everything collapsed on me,
Yeah.
And I think that there was something when I was growing up. I mean, I thought I might have it together by 30. Well, but back in that time, actually, we didn't trust anybody over 30. And and I had actually been told, by some. This is when I was a teenager, and somebody was playing around with palm reading, and she told me that I wasn't going to live very long. I had a short lifeline.
Oh, wow.
And that is so irresponsible.
No one should ever do that, even if they have an inkling that they know.
Never.
That's not good. That's playing God, and that's not the way it's supposed to be used.
And I took it in, and it changed my life. I did all kinds of stuff I would never have done if I hadn't thought that I was going to be dead before I was 30.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's tragic for that woman to have done that.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. It was just a kid, We were stupid. But yes. But let me. I had actually forgotten about the willingness, the fear, and all that, because just being willing to do something different is huge. That willingness opens doors to the
It really does.
Yeah.
It really
does. And it's just such a
Yeah.
small thing. Okay, I don't really believe it, but I'm willing.
Let me do it and see what happens, but I'm not saying I believe it. And I send the messages that I get, to different people, and I'm like, I'm not saying it is, but let's see what goes on. And most people don't even answer back. But, I just say, well, if it's meant to be, it's going to be,
That's it.
Do you find that people in the beginning had a really hard time accepting that your messages were real, or was it just you?
No. Well, me mostly at first. And in fact, and here's a $150 workshop I'm just going to hand you right now. He gave me the task of writing 12 questions, and then and putting them on little strips of paper and putting them into, he said, a vessel of your liking. So, I mean, it could be a bag, a bowl, a basket, whatever, or, a crystal goblet, something. And so every day I would sit down to meditate, and I was supposed to have this new journal, and I have a pen, and I write the question at the top of the page, and I then answer it after my meditation. And it was really interesting because I'd hear this, dear one, and then I'd hear the first partial sentence, and then that sentence would repeat again. And then it would repeat again, And so I go, okay. So I write down the sentence, and then it continued from there.
Just keeps flowing.
Yeah.
Like you're not even doing it, right?
Yes. And so then he said, and here's the real tricky part, he said, do not read that message, close your book. For months. And when you finish all 12 of these questions, then you can start to read your messages. And if you miss a day, you have to add 2 more days and 2 more questions in there. So it took me 18 days to finish the 12 messages, And by that time, I really wanted to know what I had to say. And it was the very first time that I had interest in that.
That's amazing.
And that's
so similar.
Yes, we do that, and we just don't respect what the energy of love and wisdom that comes through us.
Yeah, we're taught not to. I've been seeing and hearing spirits, ghosts, demons, devils, whatever, for my whole life, and people do try to steer you away from that. Religion gets in, and fear, and it's very hard to get out of. I tell people, just trust. God will direct it. It's not, we can't do that type of thing.
Before I go into something that seems frightening, I really ask for help from the universe. I call in my higher self and all of the angels of light and the beings of wisdom that work with me to come and guide me through this darkness with faith that God knows what it is that I'm here to experience. And may I be protected, may I be safe, and may I be loved through this process. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's important. I do the prayers too. I light the candles. I use every kind of, you have to do that as well. I mean, I'm not saying don't be careful.
Before you can look at the dark, so it's, that's when you walk into a dark room, you turn on the light. It just makes sense.
That's very true.
That's what you got to do. Yeah. So lighting a candle is a huge act of devotion.
Yeah.
Because it really takes the quality of consciousness and the light. It shows that you're willing to have light in your life, and you dedicate it to God. And there's so many words for God. I think somebody told me they had 77 words. I haven't ever counted them. But
wow.
I like divine presence. I like infinite intelligence. And this also changed my life. Do you mind me just telling you all these things?
I do not. I love this. Is beautiful. This is a perfect
raving
interview.
On. Okay, so
it's good.
So it's 1975. I had read the Be Here Now book, and it so changed my life that I quit the best job I ever had, where I would have actually been set for life, pension, money, everything would have been good. I quit that job because I was working with they were selling these multi-million-dollar condos on the beach, and all these very, very wealthy people, they had everything that I had been raised to believe was important to work towards, and all but maybe 2 out of all of these hundreds of people that I met buying these apartments were not happy. And I just said, well, what is it that is going to make me happy, you know? And so I gave away everything I owned. I quit my job. I moved to the country, and I had already rejected any kind of formalized religion. Unfortunately, I wasn't raised with any, so it was easy to do that. I was driving one day, and I saw this sign that said, that I forget what the sign said, but it was a class, and I thought, well, okay, this sounds like a class that would give me, something maybe having to do with happiness. And in the class, which I remember nothing about except for one sentence, the teacher said, "We are all cells in the mind of God."
Oh, wow.
And I took it in, and it just changed me in that moment, because all of the thoughts about a God of revenge and whatever, all these terrible thoughts. Okay, this is an energy. This is a vast energy that I live and move and have my being within the mind of this exalted state. And I could go there. I just went, yeah, okay, I like that. I can do that. And that was really beneficial, because it allowed me to open up my heart again and to pray to this vast energy. And I think at first I was going, well, if you're really there, what I really need is, I would start talking, because I was living by myself, and I had been a single mother, and right shortly after that, my son said he wanted to go live with his father, and he was 7, and I thought, okay, he certainly knows as much as I do about this kind of thing, so, you go ahead, and so then I was on my own, and with my dog, and that was the first time that I spent 7 years without a home base, and then to do it again at 56, 57, which is a really interesting thing. And if I didn't believe in astrology before then, I would, because we have something that's called the Saturn return, and Saturn comes back to every 28 to 30 years, comes back to where it was when we were born. And so what happens then is that, and if people who ignore this have to have like a midlife crisis, but people but what happens is you explore those last 30 years or 28 years, and you figure out, what is it you want for the next 30 years or 20, so
interesting.
So that's what we have.
Saturn is the planet of blockage. Not blockage, but
some could say that. But yeah, it's discipline. It's hard it's lessons, and some of them are hard. It's a taskmaster. It's a powerful guidance system. And I was born with Saturn like 3 degrees from my birth sun sign. So Saturn has been a really big part of my life, which means my lessons. I somehow need to have a more dramatic, or else I don't pay attention, so.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but yeah. Right before I was born, the universe said 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, and then I came out. That's sometimes what I feel like. I hate to sound like it's not really funny, but yeah. I get that. I'm sorry. Okay, it's got me off the beaten path now.
We have to have humor at this point, because nobody knows how to do the world the way it is. This is it is craziness, and it is taking people off their point of reference. So they really are flailing around, and so we're not. It's not well understood that our words are thoughts, our feelings are actually contributing to what we're experiencing. And it's become more and more and more clear now. So it because, try it. It's obvious. If you sink yourself into the bad news that's in the world, or all the wars and the violence and the chaos, man, that just gets to be your only reality. And
that's what happens. Yeah, it's overkill. It's too much information.
Yeah, it's just too much. And I think that most of the people, and probably this is your listeners, most of us are highly sensitive beings. We came in like completely empathic. We don't even know whose thoughts and feelings we're feeling at this point, because we're so vulnerable to mass consciousness. We're so vulnerable to what our teachers and our parents and our doctors and whatever told us. We really have to learn what our still point is, what that higher self actually, like you said, you went still. That's it. We have to go still. And we're so busy filling space with momentum and energy, and we don't know what stillness can bring to us.
I have to tell my daughter that all the time. My youngest is very empathic, and she comes out and she'll say to me sometimes, "I'm so anxious. I don't know why I'm anxious." And I tell her, I say, try to find the source. You know what it is, and there's usually no source. And I tell her it's because you're empathic, and now you need to learn how to shield. You need to learn how to meditate, and especially for kids. Kids really, really need the protection, because poor kids what they go through.
Well, one of the things that I think is just grand in this time is this organization called HeartMath. That is heartmath.org. It's a nonprofit organization of scientists that have been studying the heart for 25 years.
Oh, wow.
And what they discovered is that the heart has this ability to have the wisdom and the intelligence that we require. And it's saying that when we're anxious, if we put it simply, and this is so simple, try it right now, you won't believe the difference. You put your hands on your heart and you breathe into your heart. Just breathe a breath or two into your heart with your hands right there. And if you can, breathe in gratitude or love. It makes a huge difference. Just say, I breathe in gratitude now. I breathe in love, even if you don't feel it. Just breathe in love, breathe in gratitude, because it's there. And then just breathe it in and take like 3 deep breaths into your heart. And then when you take your hands away, notice how different you feel.
My heart feels all warm.
Yes.
My chest got warm.
Yeah. And if you tell a child totally gets it. That's something that they can really resonate with. The whole, if we start in with, well, you got to protect yourself, it might be kind of scary, but at least this way we can soften up. And we can soften up. And then you just bring the warm light of protection and strength and courage into your solar plexus, because that's our power center. That's where we get grabbed by these people and energies and thought forms and whatever else is out there. So we need to keep our solar plexus clear and strong.
That's the one right below the heart chakra.
Just below the heart, your stomach, basically. It's that wide expanse there. And if you bring the warm light of the sun, this is what I was told, the warm golden light of the sun into that area and let it fill up with warmth. And it's like living light. And then the attributes there of that chakra are strength and courage and protection. Mm-hmm. And that is where Archangel Michael lives, believe it or not. It's his domain. Let's say he doesn't live there per se, but it's his domain. He is very involved with teaching us how to be courageous and strong, and most importantly, discerning. We have to learn discernment. That's one of the things that is, I think, missing because
Yes,
we just
I
take
agree.
in all this information
100%.
and go nuts behind it, and
Yep.
so it's the discernment that allows us to look at something and be more neutral and be more balanced and sort of let it be there and not have an emotional response to it. It really makes a difference.
The emotions are really tricky. We have to be very careful, because I went through, when I hit 50, and I thought, all my beliefs were just wonderful, and forget about the childhood. That was just like a nightmare. But I thought being the religion I was all I needed to be, and all of a sudden the whole rug was pulled out. So we have to be really careful about emotions. My emotions always said, well, when I feel good, that means a blessing from God, and
Well,
some things we have to struggle for. But we have to, sometimes we do have to struggle and work at things. Yeah. But I wonder if you could talk a little bit about light activation.
Ooh.
And I see that you do light activations just on an elementary level, a beginner's level.
Yes, in fact, I'm just about to
thing.
teach the last class of my light field technology class, and well, that's two. Those aren't two separate things, even though they sound like they are. So the light activation is what we experienced when I did that alignment exercise. Mm-hmm. That light was being activated in all the chakras. When we put our hands on our heart and we say the power words of love and gratitude, that is a light activation for our heart.
Yeah.
So light is an activator. That's its attribute. It can activate anything. And when we send light into situations, or we send to people who are struggling, to families who are suffering, or areas of the world, we are sending this divine love and the intelligence of God that's carried in the light that knows exactly what to do.
Yeah.
We don't know what to do, really. We just think we do. But if we just send light there, it activates the qualities of consciousness that are required to change that place and bring it into a higher frequency.
That's why
and
I
the
love
higher the
Reiki.
frequencies, the more love, the more grace, the more ease, the more beauty. So that's the difference. And certain words have a higher frequency than others. And so when we start to use these words that have these higher frequencies to them, and I made a whole list from A to Z, the quantum fields of light, in every word, and so words like allowing is very powerful now. Yeah. Words like alignment, very, very powerful. Words like harmony and beauty, those have great high frequencies right now. So those words can activate. And what I discovered, and this is after my dramatic meeting with Archangel Michael, that my body work that I was doing as a massage therapist, I really focused a lot on polarity therapy and energy work, that the light that was coming through that I invited would come through my hands and activate energy in the cells of somebody's body. So that's what I did for 20 years. And then, then in 2012, somebody said to me, well, it's 2012 now. You don't need to put your hands on somebody. You can do it remotely. And I kind of said,
disagree.
No way.
Yeah,
and
I
it
disagree
happens.
With that.
It does.
I don't know. I think do you really think so? I think it could work, but I think the human touch is important.
Well, it depends on the person. My landlord is at my door, and so just a second, I'm going to...
Sure. So we are talking to Shanta Gabriel of www.shantagabriel.com. And I want you to go over to that website. Her website is amazing. You can sit and read it for hours. And you're here. You're there. Okay.
I'm here. And, I'm just laughing. Yeah, she handed me a bag of lettuce and then left.
Oh, that's nice. So this is good. So sometimes we can help other people, and the activation, everything that you're saying to me makes so much sense. Mm-hmm. We have a 2-hour show. I think we've got about 10 minutes left. Is that right? Yeah, that's right, right?
No.
My math is off.
I know we started
the other
late,
day,
so I'm kind of lost.
Yeah, that's okay. The other day I had the nicest woman. She was so nice, and I talked to her, and I said, well, it's time to end the show. And I was like 40 minutes off. I don't know what's going on. I think I'm going through menopause or something.
No, this is time is actually irrelevant anymore. It's stretchable and malleable. It's very wild.
It's interesting because the last few years, because I became a Reiki master in 2014, and it really, I don't know if you do Reiki, but I guess you do the similar energy work.
Yeah.
I can't recommend it enough. The energy work really did help me with a lot of things, and I agree with that. I think that, do you think that sometimes some of the things that people see, it's just, I'm going to throw this out because we only got like 10 minutes. Do you think that some of the things that people see, both positive and negative, could be on a time slip or interdimension, like from a different time? I was just curious to see what you think.
I am of the mind that almost anything is possible nowadays.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised. I don't really try to figure things out so much anymore.
I think too much.
For me, it's more like, is my heart resonating with this? It's when I can come to my heart, I get a lot more awareness, and I'm just I feel like most of the time I'm on this information overload kind of thing, So it's kind of tricky to just stay. So I'm sitting here just looking out at the trees. That's pretty much where I find a little bit more substance and balance, is if I can spend as much time in nature as possible and just have it be easy that way. So, yeah. And a lot of people that live in cities have to really seek it out. But most of the time there's some parks, or you can find one favorite tree somewhere, or a botanical garden, or bring a tree into your place, your own space. Even just bringing one flower into your house can lift the vibrations. I've heard that angels live in flowers. I know that nice. Certainly, nature spirits do. That the overlighting angel of that particular flower comes right with her into your house, and so it's something that can just shift our energy just enough that we can see with more love, or we see with more clarity. We feel a little more at peace in our hearts. It's a good thing that way.
That's nice. That's so nice. Because that resonates with me.
We have
really
to look for simple things, because we try to complicate our lives too much, I think.
Yeah, I way overthink every single thing. That a lot of people I know that we all sit and try
Lots of people. We were trained that way.
Yeah,
we were trained, yeah. So I'm untraining myself. I'm to try not, and I still do. I trying to figure things out for me anymore is it leads me into places that are just too like a maze. It doesn't help. And so, and this is another blessing from Heart Math, putting my hand on my heart and breathing there and asking for truth. Usually it'll sort of rise to the surface. It'll be an inspiration that comes from my heart. It's like a little more light I do that alignment exercise that brings me back and
I like that one.
See. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one.
Do you want me to I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, please. Excuse me.
I was just gonna. Well, if you have a question, I don't want to step on you.
No, I was going to say, do you do readings for people? Do you get messages from the archangels for
yes.
particular people? Well, that would
absolutely.
be nice.
Yeah. So I have private sessions, and in fact, right now I have one that is only 30 minutes long, and it's just it's a transmission. So when they call, what I'll do is just find out where a person is, what the energy is that's working with them now, what challenges that might be there available, where's the support that to overcome or bring harmony and the beneficial outcome, because they're always
sometimes it's the simplest thing. I'll find myself going through struggle after struggle, and there was something that I worked on, a healing for myself. There was a soul's journey. I had soul loss, and it was just, I had to give it to God. I had to give it to the angels, and it was just that simple.
Yes.
And sometimes most of the time it's just that simple. It's not to diminish anything that we go through, but to the healing. I see that you do healing and you use the gemstones. That's also good. They're very powerful.
And flower essences. And I mean, there are so many resources now, and they work really well because they're energetically strong. And so the more that we can bring these high energy things to us, the better it is. Would you like me to choose a message for the group? I just did pull a card from the Gabriel message.
That would be great. You have no idea how great that would be. Yes.
Okay. It says, feeling free to be yourself is the greatest gift you can give. And I love this one because for me, and there's another card in there that is something like, the unique aspects of ourselves, those parts of us that made us different from everyone else, those contain our gifts. That's where our gifts are. And for me, it was my whole life, I was trying to fit in. I was a really good chameleon. And so, I was raised with, my father was a military officer, so, that you had to fit in. It was really
all that
important.
Traveling,
So I always wanted to be like everybody else, and all it did was make me more and more and more different. And so it wasn't until Archangel Gabriel started saying you have to really love and accept and recognize that those unique aspects of you, that's the thing that is the gift that you brought to the world. So really honor that. And when we just bring our hearts and our true authentic self and be vulnerable to just truly be ourselves and with people, it is the greatest gift we can give, because then it allows them to be in their hearts and be vulnerable but also loving. And that amazing light activation that goes from our eyes to another eye when the heart is behind it is so healing. And we don't get enough of that.
I know it says in the Bible, the kingdom of God is within you. And I've always thought of that. And I don't think people really understand that in a full way. I know I didn't. I was always looking on the outside, but I agree with what you're saying, that it's right here. We have the wisdom. We have the understanding. We just have to, I think there's a false pride. There's always been in my life that I thought, I was, it isn't about us. It's about what God chooses to do and the angels choose to do. And it's a beautiful message.
And it's, just letting our heart be the guide, because all of that wisdom is in our hearts. And that's our gift. That's our soul. And being willing to share our soul with another. And here's where discernment comes in. Of course, we're not going to just say, what we believe is true to everybody, because, that's that pearl before swine thing, So we have to be very discerning.
Yeah.
And I was, when I first got excited about being a cell in the mind of God. And we're such zealots when we first get some of the truth, but that's the time we have to integrate it into ourselves before we really are ready to share it, and then there's that moment when you have a friend that's you just feel so close to and so special to, and we can even ask permission to just share a belief with them, and see how it lands, and say, go ahead.
I find that if you share, like I get messages and they're pretty serious, and I share once in a while, and I'll send them to people, and I'll say, look, just tell me what you feel. Do you think it's legit? What do you have to add? I have no problem doing that, but there are times that some people literally cannot hear the messages that we can give. And
truth.
There's nothing that we could do. Yeah,
nothing.
There's nothing we could do to hear it.
No,
can't do it. They can't hear it.
Can't do it. And so I pretty much wait till I'm asked.
Yeah.
I hardly will ever, unless they give me an opening, I won't tell anybody anything. I'll have my ideas, but who knows? It's just what's coming through, and if it. I used to say, and it used to be, it was hard, for a lot of people. They just weren't ready. And so, like when we're ready, the teacher comes kind of thing, we'll be asked if it's important. Mm-hmm.
And it just comes like right away, because I was almost homeless. And I mean, we were like one step away from being homeless. It was last year. And I was losing my mind. I've got the 2 kids. My ex left. He did all sorts of stuff. And I just did 18 days of prayer. I asked the angels, and I'm shaken. Within 4 days, I got where I am now, which is right up to the woods. There's deer. There's all sorts of animals. It's peaceful. I can afford it. And I mean, this last almost a year, I've just decompressed almost entirely. So I have to say that just to tell people, I'm not trying to tell you because you obviously know that, but it can happen that quickly when things happen.
It is nearly overnight,
seamless,
or it can be
seamless.
Instantaneous,
yeah.
or it can take as long as it needs to take. I mean, this is, and it's, just because we've had the examples that it works, there's, when the house where I am in right now, I was in another house and they sold it, and I had 30 days, but I couldn't find another place to live.
Oh,
and everything kept falling through, and it's faith that it's going to come through no matter what it looks like. And I kept saying there is a creative solution here, and then I'd freak out and I'd go and be anxious and whatever, and then here's another thought. Okay, this is slightly off the subject, but on. Because when we start to get anxious, then our emotions
changes the energy,
and we've lost our minds at that point, And so anxious. But the truth about anxiety is that our bodies, when we don't breathe deeply, believe that they're not going to get enough oxygen, and it causes anxiety. And so just that whole heart math thing where you put your hand on your heart and breathe 3 or 4 deep breaths, the body suddenly relaxes because it now knows that it's going to get enough oxygen to survive. And the other thing about what heart math says is that they call it a quick coherence technique. So we're coming into coherence with all the energy systems of our body, when we put our hands on our hearts. So that is a really, just breathing can help us to get more and more at peace with where we are. And within, very short amount of time, I was I think 4 days away from having to be out of the other house and having no place to go.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah,
and so,
I know.
It still happens. And, I don't know if it's a test, whatever. It's divine timing as far as I'm concerned. Things have to line up in the universe to provide the place was empty at the right time so that I could be there and then, move in. So it's it's like that. We do receive answers when we ask. We just might not recognize them as solutions.
Yeah, or we want it our way. That's me all the time. I couldn't have picked a better.
I want it yesterday. Now.
Yeah. That's especially in this day and age. That is so hard because this is like instant gratification, and everybody deserves. There's such a thing as the dark night of the soul, and it's very valuable. And I think a lot of us, we forget that. I guess that guilt that I'm Italian and Irish, among other things, and I get that guilt, and then the Catholic guilt, and it has its purpose. But then it's but my therapist always tells me, why would God, who loved you last month, not love you this month? And it's stop it. It makes sense because because of me. That's why, and that's really nice to know.
Well, that's
it's
where
really
that
nice.
willingness, and we have to come into life with an open mind and heart now. It's really important because things are very different. They're not going to look like what we imagined they might.
Yeah, I know,
They
right?
could, if we really want a place to live. I was asking for, for trees. I was asking for nature. I was asking for peace. I was asking for quiet. I was asking for all the things that this place provides that I wasn't finding in all the other places. And I was just feeling rejected because I didn't, I had to put my application in and I didn't get it, and I didn't get it, and I didn't get, So it's a timing thing. Divine timing is really, and trust.
It's very real.
Is real. Mm-hmm.
Very real. And it's shocking because when it happens, you think, wow, somebody really does care. Because you're thinking, where am I going to go? I would have lost my cat and my dog. I might have lost, And you think, gee, that guilt is, don't put guilt on people, listeners. That's all I'm going to tell you. Don't put guilt on you. But
guilt is a burden that isn't ours.
Yeah. Yeah, it really isn't. The guilt is.
And we don't have to carry it. And we don't have to do anything out of guilt or obligation. It's just not appropriate anymore. It's like this is a time, and this is going to sound really funny maybe to some, but we, especially women, I think, were trained to serve others. That we had less value, that what we were here to do was serve others. And to take care of ourselves was not a high priority. And so that created all kinds of havoc in my life. And so it's like you get on an airplane, and what do they say? Put your own oxygen mask on first before you put it on your kid. And
and that's the hardest thing to do.
It is. And so we have to we're retraining ourselves. We are giving ourselves new codes of conduct. And so we have to do ourselves first, because that is then we're in alignment with our soul. We're in alignment with our highest soul reality, and we're grounded. And that's when God can use us. When we're a mess, because we've given it all to others and we have no energy left, we're getting sick, that's not helpful.
No, it really isn't.
No, it's not. And that God is not asking us to martyr ourselves. No. We're asked to be here in our strength, in our service. And we can only serve from a full cup. So fill yourself up with light every single day, and your cup will be full. It'll be so full that it'll overflow and radiate to others. And you will be the light and the beacon to all beings from that place of wholeness.
Well, it isn't any surprise why the angels would pick you, because you're obviously listening. Very much so. I mean, everything that you're saying resonates with me. And thank you for that so much, 100 million times, because it helps me to understand that what I'm receiving once in a while is legitimate, and other people who come to me, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna end now, because I get nervous and my mathematical brain doesn't go. But I think we did about 2 hours, and I'm gonna put a little bit of a bumper in the beginning and the end.
Well, and here's, so you can cut this part out, but press *9 and then 1, and then you'll have the completion of this recording.
Oh, okay, good. And nobody knows what we're talking about. On this phone.
Yes.
Okay. See what I mean? Takes a minute. But thank you so much, and I want to welcome you back to my show anytime. If you have any news or you want to come talk again, I'd like to try. I think I thank you for directing me to this free conference call thing, because I can't use Skype anymore. It gets really funky.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd love to bring other people in so we could have like 2 or 3 guests, or maybe we can have people who want to ask you questions.
Oh, yeah.
And we could make it a very, very good radio show.
We can open to questions and answers on this line. It's very easy to do it all the time.
Oh, this is great. See, this is such a blessing to have you on my show.
So I can do little mini readings for people.
Yes, that would be great. So after I end, we can talk about the next time you can come on, because that's something that's lacking. I haven't had that for years. I'm thinking of going back to Blog Talk Radio, but this is even better. So this is Through the Darkness, and this will be on probably not this week, but next. What date is that now? The 8th? The 15th? May 15th, if that's okay. And so you can listen to this on May 15th, which while I'm telling you that, while I'm telling everybody else out, and they're like, it's already May 15th. And thank you so much, and everybody, thank you for listening. I'm going to go, and we'll see you next week. Remember, Lee.